Starting out with a bang.
I was trying so hard to like hold it in.
I
literally couldn't anymore, and it just came out.
I was literally taking a breath to say, hello, everybody. Welcome to Tales with Twins. And you beat me to the punch by like a millisecond.
I'm so sorry.
It's okay. Anyway, welcome to Tales with Twins, everybody.
Yes, welcome.
Yes. I'm Jillian. I am one half of this 1/3 pie of a podcast.
Yes. And the older of the two twins.
Yes, we are twins. My co-host is all the way in Colorado.
That's me.
Yourself? Yes.
I'm Paige. And I'm the younger one by 3 minutes.
Yes, in case you're curious, if you haven't listened before, we are 3 minutes apart. I am older. Paige is wee and younger.
Yes.
We also have our big brother on the line really quick. His name is Kyle.
Hey.
He pops in and out whenever he feels like he has some input that he'd like to share with the world. So
and you guys are watching Harry Potter in the background, I see. Which actually leads me to my Christmas gift that I got. I got a set of 4.
That is darling.
They're little glasses. Awesome. They're like large stemless wine glasses, and they're Harry Potter themed. And they're really, really fun because they're like printed in like a gold kind of. And this one has like his glasses with the little lightning bolt on it. It's kind of like purple.
That's darling. I love it.
Sorry, that was my child.
Paige is a parent.
We put our kids to bed a little bit late by accident tonight, and it's showing. So, if anyone hears children giggling or being obnoxious in the background, I'm really, really sorry. But it is what it is.
Yes. Yeah, that's just kind of the name of the game when you're podcasting as a parent.
Yes, and maybe someday we'll be able to afford a place. Let me go check on her.
Okay.
She's upset. Okay. Poopy diaper has been hated from the butt of my children. That was a restful break. Not.
Sorry,
so anyway, yes, my children are very much awake right now and possibly going to be making noises. So I apologize, but it is what it is.
Okay. Yep, that sounds good.
Speaking of children and why sometimes I like to drink, what are you drinking tonight?
Let's see. Well, I took a break from my cocktail, and I have it's called a chider.
That sounds amazing.
Yes, it's a seasonal.
Chai and cider?
Yes, it's chai and a hard cider.
Oh
I don't know if I'm technically allowed to say the company, but I'm going to anyway, because I don't really know the rules. So up here in Washington, we have tons of cideries and things like that. And this one is called Shilling. If anybody has been to Washington, I'm sure you heard of Shilling. It's one of the bigger ones. And so they make a seasonal called Chider, and it's spiced chai cider. And it's actually really good.
That just sounds like heaven.
It's definitely like fall in a can. It's gluten-free and vegan, like most ciders. But yeah, it's nice. I actually really enjoy it.
Nice.
Yeah. What are you drinking?
I'm drinking like a boozy. Oh my god, you scared me.
I almost spit out my cider.
Holy shit.
I'm sorry. I don't know why I can't stop.
Just like out of nowhere. She's like, Mommy.
Oh, that was funny.
Oh my god.
Everybody survive?
Yeah.
Ooh, yes. Sorry.
Jillian's reaction, that was priceless. She just wouldn't stop laughing.
Now that we've literally had the shit scared out of us, tell me what you were drinking.
Oh my god, yeah. Anyways, now that fucking happened. God. Okay. I am drinking like a boozy, sparkling cider.
Sorry.
It was right at this moment where she scared the shit out of us.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's a boozy, sparkling cider. Wild Basin. And this is Oscar Blues. So it's Kyle. Oscar Blues is Colorado, right? I believe he left the chair, so we'll find out in a minute, I'm sure.
Oh, yes. He's giving us a thumbs up. Okay. Yeah.
So this is another Colorado one. And this flavor is melon basil.
Ooh.
And it tastes like cotton candy.
That sounds delightful.
That is from Oscar Blues?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
I'm going to write that down.
I have to find that.
Melon basil. It was a whole sampler thing. Like they had a cucumber something. The cucumber one was... cucumber peach.
Ah, okay.
It was really good. But yeah, this one is my favorite. It's very yummy.
Oscar Blues is my favorite brewery. So I am definitely going to have to check that out.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, mental note.
Yeah, they're really good. And they're like vegan, one carb because it's sparkling water, whatever.
Yeah.
So, anyway.
So if I don't like if I don't like sparkling water, am I going to like hard sparkling water? Probably not.
Have you never had a White Claw?
No.
Oh my god.
I don't like sparkling water.
Cultured, Jillian.
Don't like sparkling water, so I just never bothered. Like, I'd rather just go all in with gin.
So, I will say that I don't like White Claws. They don't have very much flavor to them. Trulies are really good, and these ones are super yummy. They're very, very flavorful.
Okay.
So, I mean, they're not, like, heavy hitting in flavor, because it's, like, supposed to taste like sparkling water.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not like a LaCroix, where it's like someone screamed lemon from another house next door into your can.
That's an adequate description of a LaCroix.
Someone just whispered lemon next to you. I don't know, whatever. It's not like that. Yeah. This kind at least has more flavor than that.
Okay, that's good to know. Okay. Yeah. Maybe I'll try it if I can find it out here. It's always kind of hit or miss on what I can find.
Well, the sparkling water thing is like a huge thing now.
Yes,
so
I do
you'll be
know
able
that.
To find something.
Yeah, I do know that. I've just never bothered. Like, if I'm going to spend money on alcohol, I'm going to spend it on alcohol.
Yeah, well, some of them have high alcohol content. Like, this one doesn't. It's only 5, but I've seen some that are like 7.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay. I'm also like a cocktail person, so I'm curious if I could make a cocktail with it, but...
yeah, probably. I mean, I don't see why not.
Interesting.
They're good, like, to like, bring places.
Mm-hmm.
Just for, like, quick drinking. Like, when Morgan and I have our drunk anime nights. This is not what I would be drinking.
Okay.
We, like, make legit cocktails, but this is just kind of something that's easy to have on hand, and I don't feel like I'm gonna gain 30 pounds from drinking one.
Okay. That's good.
Yeah. But before I forget, I have to show you guys the mask that my coworker gave to me. My lovely, lovely coworker who was my Secret Santa this year. Oh. And it is the best thing ever. So I'm going to put on my new mask because this is fucking COVID times. And we care about things like what our masks look like.
Yes. And we care that we wear masks. Oh, it's got titties on it. Oh. That's so cute.
There's all different types of boobies on it. Isn't that sweet?
They're all different shapes. They look so natural.
I know. There's ones with tiny nipples and big nipples and asymmetrical boobies.
Yep, because we're all normal with our boobies.
Yeah.
That's so cute. I feel
sweet?
like at some point I saw this guy in the grocery store. He was probably in like his 60s. And he had a boob mask on. And for like a half a second, I was like, that is hilarious. And then the other half of that second, I was like, I don't know how I feel about that. It's much better when a woman is wearing one.
Yeah.
It's a little less
and
weird.
Just in case anyone's missed it, I'm a doula, sort of. COVID has put a damper on my business, but so the booby thing matches me very, very well.
Yes, definitely.
And I'm a feminist as well, so.
Yeah, and you have boobs, so.
Asymmetrical breastfeeding boobies, yes. Sorry, Kyle.
Oh, goodness. It's
Kyle's
right. It's
learned
good.
a lot about us.
Yes, he has learned a lot about us through
look,
this journey.
This one doesn't even have a nipple. It's like an areola, and that's it.
Yeah. Okay. All right. That's new to me, but I'm sure it's out there.
I know. That's not one I'm familiar with.
Who knows?
Yeah. Anyway.
Adorable.
Okay, sorry, I just had to show you that.
That's adorable. Well, let's see. Anyway, so before I forget, so our last episode, Paige talked about the Jersey Devil. It was a very fun episode. If you haven't listened to it yet, you definitely should, because it was pretty fun. It was pretty quick. It was a shorter one, which if you're, short on time, and by short, I mean like an hour and a half. If you're short on time, that one would be a good one to start with. But we talked very briefly about if the Jersey Devil could be a bat. And I mentioned that my good friend Maggie is kind of a bat enthusiast and knows probably a lot of information about random bats. So I reached out and I asked them what they knew about this bat, this horse-faced bat. That was a specific bat that we were talking about.
Yeah.
So I'll read you the conversation. So I said, "Hi there, random question. What do you know about the horse-faced bat?" And this was pretty funny. So Maggie says they're also called hammerhead bats, and they have extremely dumb faces.
Whoa, Maggie.
I know.
Back.
I know. They also said that they're mostly a European bat and they eat fruit, but they look so dumb. That was really funny. And then they corrected themselves and said that they're actually from Africa, Central Africa. So that's kind of where they reside. I asked them if it's possible that, a population of this kind of bat could end up in, the eastern half of this state and maybe could be the Jersey Devil. And they basically said that, okay, let me see here. So let me read this. That they would look into it and then they'll let me know. So they got back to me later in the day and said that, let's see, so all the bats that are regulars to New Jersey are pretty small, because I had asked, I feel like I'm not describing this very well. I asked also how big this bat was, because I remember telling them that, like, hey, this, from the photos I've seen, this bat looked quite large. And they actually described them as the hammerhead bat is technically a mega bat.
Oh my gosh.
But it's not as big as it sounds. So mega bats apparently can get like a couple feet in size, which is big for a bat. Like, that's fucking huge for a bat. When you think about, most bats are probably like the size of your hand, maybe a little bit bigger. So to have like a 2 or 3 foot sized bat, it could just be like gigantic. That's huge. So Maggie also mentioned that they found an article saying that one of these bats actually could have gotten on a fruit ship that was coming from Africa.
A what ship?
A fruit ship.
Fruit ship.
Yeah, because they eat fruit. They're fruit bats.
Yeah.
They're fucking huge fruit bats. They're fruit bats nonetheless. And it could have been spotted in New Jersey, which I thought was kind of interesting. And they sent me the article, and I did read through it. It wasn't, it wasn't groundbreaking, but it basically kind of talked about how this bat could have been the Jersey Devil.
Maybe that's the part that I was talking about. Because remember I mentioned that there was this guy who found one on his boat.
Yeah.
And then he like brought it in to be examined, and they were like, "No, this is a bat."
Yeah. So maybe.
I wonder if it's that same story.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, and there was even a photo of this. Let me pull up the web or the article, and then if people want to look it up, they can. The site is called Week in Weird, and that's week as in like this week, so WEEK. And the article is The Jersey Devil Hammerhead Bat Theory, and it's by Chris Savia, and it was posted on September 16th in 2012. And there's actually a photo of the drawing of a Jersey Devil, like its head. Mm-hmm. And then next to it is the Hammerhead Bat profile.
Yeah, they look a lot alike.
Yeah, they look quite a bit alike. So I don't know if you can see that, but it was actually kind of interesting. So in the article, it says that the Jersey Devil is between 6 to 8 feet tall. And the bat, this hammerhead bat, has a wingspan of 27 to 38 inches and a total length of 7 to 11 inches. So it's not, I mean, the size isn't quite right, but either way, this bat is huge, and, it could probably freak people out, I'm sure, if they're not used to seeing it. But yeah, I thought it was interesting. So that's the update on the bat front. Maggie was very intrigued by the idea and did some research for me, which I appreciated.
That's hilarious. Thank you, Maggie.
I know. Well, it was funny because it was just like, so what do you know about this bat? And they were basically like, it has this dumb face. That's so Maggie. Like that's a dumb face. So
that's hilarious.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, let's see. Is there anything else we should get to before we start our story?
I don't think so. Jeez, we've been going for a minute here.
Yeah. Sorry, everybody. We're just chatty this evening.
Yeah, and my children were wreaking havoc.
That's all right. That's okay. All right. So every week at Tales of Twins, we give each other a topic or a theme. Mm-hmm. So at the end of this episode, I'm going to give Paige a theme, and that will be next week's episode. So last week, Paige gave me the theme of a lighthouse.
Yep.
Yeah, it was very fun. I was actually quite excited about it. There was a lot to choose from, I will say that.
Oh, that's good.
Yes. So it's something that we could probably come back to. And, okay. But, and honestly, like there were quite a few that had very weird histories, but the stories weren't quite long enough. So I could easily see it being like a compilation situation. This story that I have tonight, I think, is one of the longer ones. So I think it's more of a standalone, but there were quite a few that were, I think could be compiled together and we could do almost like a compilation of stories. But this was one that I ended up with. It hit all of the lists, like the top 10 most haunted lighthouses. This was on all of them. Ooh. Yes, there was. Oh yeah, we're doing a haunted lighthouse tonight in case anybody was curious. Right. And there were quite a few that had a true crime element to it also. Right. But again, like the stories were so old that it was hard to really tell what was legend and what was actually a true crime case. So I kind of steered away from those, but there was one that was actually really fascinating about this. This isn't what I'm doing, but it's pretty quick. This, the lighthouse keeper ended up dying at the lighthouse, and his wife kept the light going for like 5 days. And then when it finally went out, people went and checked and basically found her like crazy out of her mind with like grief, and she was holding her husband's frozen body because it was so cold out there, and she was just like left out there alone with his dead body, and she basically just went crazy. But that was it. Like that was the story.
That's awful.
Yeah. So they have a lot. I mean, lighthouses in general have a lot of history, and it was absolutely fascinating, but it was hard to find one that had enough information for an entire episode.
Yeah.
That hadn't been done yet, at least
Right.
over and over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure this one has been done because, like I said, it's one of the spookier ones. But, we'll see.
Yeah.
Okay, so tonight I bring you the story of the Point Lookout Lighthouse.
Ooh.
Dun, dun, dun. So the sources I've got for this is the Department of Natural Resources, Maryland, and the article is The Spirits of Point Lookout by Dorcas Coleman.
That's a name.
I apologize for your first name. I'm just going to say that right now.
I'm like, is it okay to laugh? Like, that's a horrible name.
I know. I'm sure whoever Dorcas is probably has heard it all. But so I'm not going to drive that one home.
Like, you can't even say it because every time you say it, I'm just going to laugh.
I'm sorry, Dorcas. We take you seriously. We do. Seriously, we do.
You are actually an incredible person with a lot of good things to bring to the table, but your name, sir, I just can't.
I know. It really was a good article. I swear it actually was very interesting. But yes,
I can't even say his name out loud.
I know. It's okay. We've said it. We all know. All right. The next one is Point Lookout Light, and that's the Wikipedia page. And the last one is southernmarylandchronicle.com, and the article is Scariest Stories of the Chesapeake Bay Region, Part 6, Point Lookout Lighthouse. That's the title, a long one. Yes. But it's by David M. Higgins II.
Ooh.
Yes, and he is the publisher and editor of this lovely chronicle. And that was posted on October 11th, 2018. And not all of these sources have dates and stuff to it, but if they have a date, I'll put it on there. But sometimes they don't have them, in case anybody's wondering why they don't all have a date. But
yeah.
All right. So the address for Point Lookout is 10350 Point Lookout Road, Lexington Park, Maryland 20653. Is that the lighthouse, Kyle? Is that it?
Yes, it is.
That's beautiful.
It's really pretty.
Yes. So Kyle just updated his background with a photo of this lighthouse, so he looks like he's in Southern Maryland right now. It's beautiful. So this lighthouse is in Southern Maryland, and it is very southern. Like you go into the water, and you're in the next state. I don't even know which state it is, honestly, but you're in the next state. And it's kind of on like a peninsula too. It kind of sticks out a little bit, and the lighthouse is on the very tip. So there's not really a lot around it. But and in fact, it's also inside of State Park. That was where it ultimately ended up being, was in this state park. And we'll talk about how it became a state park because the history is kind of wild.
Okay.
So in 1862, the Hammond General Hospital was built. The Hammond General Hospital was built to care for the Union wounded. So this is during the Civil War in the North. So we're talking about Union wounded here at this particular moment in time.
Right.
That's 1862. So a year later, in 1863, Confederate prisoners actually were being held at this hospital. There weren't very many, but they didn't really have anywhere to put them, so they just kind of took them to the hospital. And soon after that, Camp Hoffman was built, which is actually a prison camp to hold captured Confederate soldiers, Confederate sympathizers, or Southern Marylanders who were accused of helping the Confederacy. So if you had your hand in anything Confederate, you basically ended up here if you were in the South of Maryland.
Okay.
So it was pretty close to the Civil War battlefields. but it was also isolated enough to make escaping difficult, which I'm sure is also why they probably put the hospital there, because it was kind of secluded enough where people, wouldn't come and try to pick fights with wounded soldiers in the hospital. But so it seemed like a good place, I suppose, for both of these things. But yeah, I'm sure it was probably pretty intense, especially I'm sure in like the winter months. It's probably really chilly. But anyway, so Camp Hoffman, the prison camp, was capable of holding 10,000 prisoners of war.
Oh my
but God. By 1864, there were actually more than 20,000 prisoners.
What?
Yeah. So it basically doubled in, the amount of people that should have been there.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Which, as we all know, leads to not great situations.
Hauntings.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. So during the prison's operations, wells actually became contaminated due to filth.
Ooh.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's not great. And the prisoners were actually only given one blanket and very little wood. So it's one blanket per person, but I mean, you're in Maryland in the winter time. I'm sure it's not
cold.
Great. Yeah. So many of these prisoners actually ended up freezing to death in their tents.
Oh, no.
Yeah. And that was the other thing. Like, it wasn't even really a building. It was just quite literally like people pitched tents, and that was your prison cell.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So a lot of them froze. It's actually quite heartbreaking.
That is sad.
Yeah. So the Civil War ended a few years later in April of 1865, and officials began transferring the Confederate prisoners back to the South. So in just under 2 years, there were 52,264 Confederate soldiers imprisoned at Camp Hoffman.
Okay.
Yeah, 52,000, over 52,000, but yes. But it's estimated that between 3,000 and 8,000 men actually died there.
Say that again? 3,000? Between 3,000 and 8,000?
Yes, which is a huge gap.
Yeah, like okay, all right.
But either way, like 3,000, even if it was like the minimum at 3,000, that's a lot of people that have died there.
And then it's like, but it might be 8,000.
Which is even worse.
Those like 5,000 people. Are they just missing, or like?
I'm not sure. I imagine it. I mean, this was the Civil War. People probably went missing all the time. So and it's harder to keep track of people, and I'm not sure why they don't have a better pulse. Oh, that was a bad pun. I was gonna say pulse on the number of people that died, but that was in bad taste. Just forget I said that.
That was unintentional.
It was. It literally was. You know what I mean? Yes. I'm surprised they don't have a better understanding of how many people had actually died here, but it was a long time ago. We don't really know. All right?
Wow.
So, yeah, I know it's kind of wild. Today, 2 monuments honor the memory of the prisoners who died there. The first was built by the state of Maryland and was dedicated in 1876. The U.S. government then built one in the early 1900s, and in 1965, the Maryland State Forest and Park Service began development on the state park. So it's called Point Lookout State Park, and today it's comprised of 1,064 acres of land.
Wow.
Yeah, it's huge.
That is gigantic. A lot.
Yeah, and again, like, keep in mind what this actually looks like. Like, if you look at it on a map, it's quite literally a very skinny peninsula. It's pretty small. So it kind of stretches back into more of, like, the mainland a little bit, too. But from what I hear, it's a beautiful state park. And I'm sure if you have the opportunity to visit, I imagine it's stunning.
But haunted.
Yes, that, too. We'll get into that. The lighthouse is currently not operational. So, okay, there is a lighthouse in the state park. I want to, like, emphasize that. That's where this lighthouse resides, is inside of the state park. And I'll tell you a little bit about the history of that too, because it's actually the lighthouse is older than the state park.
Okay.
So let's see, the lighthouse was first lit on September 20th, 1830.
Okay.
So in, perspective, that is, let's see.
It's almost 200 years old.
Yes. Yeah. But it's older than so like the Civil War and the hospitals and stuff, those were built in like the 1860s. Like I said, the lighthouse was first lit on September 20th, 1830, and it was kept by James Davis. So he's the official first lighthouse keeper, James Davis. And he actually ended up dying a few months after taking the oath of office.
Oh, you have to take
I know
oath?
it didn't really say why. I'm not totally sure. I mean, it was the 1800s, so it could have been honestly just about anything. So after he died, I saw two actually differing accounts. There was a couple articles that said that his daughter took over as lighthouse keeper, and then there were a couple other articles that said that his wife was the one that took over. So I'm not really sure who she is, if she is his daughter or his wife, but her name is Ann Davis, and she's the one that actually kept the lighthouse going until her death in 1847.
Okay.
So, and I think I started saying this earlier, but I think I paused and went on to something else for a second. But the lighthouse is actually currently not operational and not open to the public, but it's inside of the state park. So if you're going there to try to get like a tour to see this lighthouse, you can see the outside of it, but you can't actually go inside of it.
Why?
So I'm not sure. I imagine it probably has something to do with the upkeep of it, and who knows, but either way, it's not open right now, but you can see it from the outside. It's also just like crazy fucking haunted. So I imagine that a lot of people don't really want to spend a lot of time in there.
Dang,
But
I do.
I don't know. I mean, it's weird because the bulk of the story is made up of firsthand accounts from people.
Oh.
And none of them are like wildly scary, but it sounds like stuff happens all the fucking time.
Okay.
Which is kind of interesting. And it's not just inside the lighthouse. There's stuff that happens outside the lighthouse too. And part of it is because they think that it's because of this prison camp for Confederate soldiers, that all these people died there. And while they didn't die in the lighthouse, they died in the very immediate area.
Yeah.
So they think that could be it. But yeah, it was kind of interesting. All right. So keepers of previous generations. So again, we talked about the first few lighthouse keepers. Mm-hmm. Keepers after that, I thought this actually was pretty funny, did not like staying there. And part of it was because it had automatic alarms to alert them if the light went out. Or if it also had fog bells. So it also had a bell that would ring if it was too foggy. And you couldn't turn it off. There was no way to be like, yes, I hear you. It's foggy outside. I've got it. It just kept ringing.
Oh my
God.
God.
If it was foggy outside, the bell would literally ring constantly all the time. God. I know. I feel like that's enough to drive anybody crazy.
Yeah. I forgot to ask. So do we know how like James Davis?
Mm-hmm.
Do we know how he died?
No.
Okay.
It didn't really specify. Okay. I mean it didn't really say a whole lot. This particular lighthouse isn't really on an island as far as I could tell. It's just really on a peninsula. It is somewhat hard to get to, but it's not like he was totally isolated. Like that one story about the wife whose husband died and she went crazy. That was on an island, like literally a rock.
Oh my God.
So there was no way for anybody to come help them. But this was a little bit different, like they were reasonably close to other things somewhat. You're just kind of out on a peninsula. So I imagine the fact that they didn't note how he died probably means that it was of natural causes or something.
Yeah, nothing interesting.
Yeah. So, but anyway, either way, his wife and or daughter took over after he left. So at some point, okay, well, let's actually start with this. The lighthouse was active for more than 135 years until the Navy actually purchased it in 1965. And it was actually automated after that. So it was ran by somebody else offshore. But it remained lit until 1981. Okay. It's no longer lit. I guess it doesn't really need to be, I suppose. I don't know. But as far as I know, it's owned by the state because it's in a state park. So that's what I can assume. Over the decades, there have been so many reports of paranormal experiences within the state park itself, but the lighthouse is by far the like hub of this activity. In fact, I know there are so many reports of hauntings here that these, encounters and stories ended up reaching a parapsychologist, a world-renowned parapsychologist named Hans Holzer. Okay. I've actually never heard of Hans Holzer, but I have a feeling we'll be seeing more of him in future episodes. But him and his team of paranormal psychologists actually were the first to investigate this lighthouse. It's in the article, it says 20 years ago. That I think that's kind of a guesstimate.
Yeah.
But this was actually kind of a fun little tidbit. To this day, it remains the only Chesapeake Bay lighthouse to have such esteemed scrutiny. I know. So I guess it basically means that Dr. Holzer only went to this lighthouse in the Chesapeake Bay, no other lighthouses, which I guess is fine.
I don't know.
They seemed really proud of that, which I thought was really random, but okay, you get it. Point Lookout Lighthouse.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, before I forget, speaking of paranormal jobs. So do you remember, what episode was it? One that we did where I was talking about that guy that hang on, let's pause for a second. Okay. So, sorry. Okay, I found it. So, remember, so in the Kentucky Goblins episode, I mentioned, this is just reminding me, because you had mentioned that this parapsychologist, which is like a crazy fucking job. So, remember in the Kentucky Goblins episode when I was talking about that guy who was the International Committee for Skeptical Inquiry?
Oh, yeah. The Skeptical Inquiry.
And I accidentally called him I accidentally said that he worked for the International Committee of Skeptical Injury.
Yeah.
So, anyway, where I was going with this was I actually saw him on an episode of Unsolved Mysteries.
Really?
Yeah. So he consulted on this really crazy area where people are seeing the Virgin Mary and the sky and stuff like that. And he consulted and did photos and stuff like that, and then basically debunked all these photos. But
yeah,
it was just funny because I was like, oh my god, it's the Skeptical Injury guy. That's not his job title, the Skeptical Inquiry.
Yes.
But it was just hilarious.
Yes.
So anyway, I just had to do a little segue
into that into seeing him. Oh
yeah,
my god,
I saw
that
him.
was
I was
so
like,
funny.
oh my god, it's that guy. Oh my god, I'm so embarrassed. I made fun of his non-existent job.
Yeah. The job that doesn't really, it's not really what he does.
Yes. Either way, his job is cool no matter what.
Yes, whether he's skeptical about your injuries or skeptical about your inquiries, it's cool either way.
Yeah, and he was very skeptical. He was like, nah, these are just issues with the film.
Yeah.
And I believed him. I was like, yeah, okay, you've convinced me, sir.
I guess that's the ultimate goal. Yeah, that makes sense. Oh my
Anyway,
gosh,
sorry.
that's so funny.
Continue.
Okay, let's see here. So Dr. Holzer's team ended up successfully recording 24 different voices inside of the lighthouse.
24?
Yeah, 24. And this was
my
like
God.
such an achievement that it was mentioned literally everywhere. In every single article, it was mentioned 24 voices in this building. It was everywhere. So it must be quite the feat of EVP captures, I suppose.
Wow, that's horrifying.
Yeah. So the voices that they got were both male and female. Some were singing, some were talking. And they actually used what they described as quite colorful language. Which, let's be honest,
F-bombs.
I know when we're ghosts and people are catching our EVPs, we'll be throwing F-bombs all over the place. It'll be fucking hilarious. So one comment was actually said, quote, "Fire if they get too close to you." Yeah.
Oh my God.
I know, which is, it's weirdly threatening, but at the same time, it could just be replaying something, because this is Civil War, battleground territory.
Yeah, although I wonder why there was women, maybe nurses, because at the time women weren't like fighting.
Yeah, I imagine nurses or caregivers or whoever were probably there taking care of people, especially in the hospital portion of this, not the not the prisoner of war camp.
Jeez.
So, but that was thought to be a reference to one of the Confederate soldiers that was possibly imprisoned nearby.
Wow, fire if they get too close. That is eerie.
Yes. Yeah, and it's just kind of like, I mean, if you think of it, it could have been a soldier that's, crouched in the grass
On
somewhere.
edge.
Yeah, literally thinking about like, okay, like if they get too close to me, I'm gonna die. It's kind of crazy. Well, and honestly, like it might not have been a Confederate soldier. It could have been a Union soldier. Like we don't really know. It could have been either one, but it was very interesting. There's also a female voice that was recorded in the tower staircase. And they believe that it could be Ann Davis, the wife/daughter of the first innkeeper. I shouldn't say it that way because it sounds like he married his daughter, which I don't think is what happened. Right. I don't know if it was his wife or his daughter, so that's what it's going to be. But it basically said, quote, "my home." So, and she, I think and she lived there longer than James, I think was his name. So she probably thought of that more of her. She thought of it probably more as her home than he did because he only lived there for a couple months. But she lived there for, I don't know, like 20 years or something.
Wow, so, that's super sad.
I know. Home. I know. But she took care of that lighthouse like nobody's business.
Yeah.
She got the job done.
The queen of the lighthouse.
Yes, that's her. And then there was another voice that said, "Let us not take objection to what they are doing."
What?
I know. I have no clue what that could be in reference to, but I like to think. I know. Well, and I think that it could have been a spirit that was maybe witnessing all of these people having these gadgets and talking to them and trying to get them to talk to them back and, all of that stuff. What?
What did this VP say?
It said, "Let us not take objection to what they're doing." So maybe they're like, no, I'm not going to object to this investigation that these people are here doing.
Like it's fine.
Yeah, like maybe they were more intelligent and knew and could tell that these people were there doing something. And maybe they knew they were dead. Who knows? Themselves.
Maybe they knew they were going to try to help them.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. But it sounded really interesting.
How heartbreaking all these things. Oh my gosh.
I know. Well, I mean, like, if you think about lighthouses in general, like this one's tragic because it's part of the war, the Civil War. but a lot of lighthouses have seen a lot of death. Like, that's
Yeah.
just kind of the name of the game with a lighthouse when you're so isolated. And, you know, if you're sick, there's really no way to get help, you know, until radios and things like that came into existence. But it's just kind of, it's heartbreaking. And I did
Yeah.
find during my research that the sense of isolation that these people probably felt was absolutely insane. I can't even imagine how lonely it must have been.
Oh,
And
God.
well, in some
I never thought
lighthouses,
about that.
yeah, well, I mean, some lighthouses, they allowed you to have like your family there with you.
Mhm.
And like there was one lighthouse where 4 of the lighthouse keepers went missing. It's like one of the more famous cases. And I
Oh,
thought
yeah,
about
yeah.
doing it, but it's kind of overdone, so I didn't do it. But it's basically these 4 lighthouse keepers just basically like up and vanished.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of speculation on, you know, how, like, what happened to them, you know? So, and it's
Yeah,
just
that
like,
one's kind of a folie à deux kind of thing too, right?
no, not really. The general consensus was that these 4 lighthouse keepers were swept away by a rogue wave, but
Oh, yeah, yeah. Oh,
it was
okay.
kind of one of those things where it's like one of you goes down, and if the rest of them don't know what happened to you, there's no hope. Like, you know, it's just, and even if you're by yourself, you know, there's literally
No one there to
nobody
help you.
there. You
Oh my
are
God.
trapped there until somebody else comes to get you. Like, there's
Oh,
no
this
helping
is sad.
yourself. I know. And like, if you get sick, you know, the only reason people would come to help you is if the lighthouse went down. But if the lighthouse goes down, then ships could crash. And then, you know, hundreds of people could die on this boat that you crashed because you didn't light the lighthouse. So there's such a sense of duty that it's like the idea of duty and isolation that is so life and death on both ends, where it's like, if you don't do your job, people are going to die, or you could die in the process.
Oh my God.
It's so crazy. It
I've
was,
never
and
thought about lighthouses this like complexly. Is that a word? Complex. I've never thought about it this deeply.
I know
what
what
I'm
you
trying
mean.
to say.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. I mean, and I honestly didn't either until I started doing all this research. Honestly, it was the wife that was like cradling her frozen husband's body. That
Ew.
was when I
Oh, that
was
is
like,
so
oh
awful.
my God. Like, she literally had no way of letting anybody know that her husband had died and that she was there by herself.
Oh my
You know,
God.
she had no clue. And then here she is, like, being a badass, and is like, no, I'm going to light this fucking lighthouse and do it myself. And she did for 5 days until she literally almost froze to death, too. In fact, she ended up dying like days later because she was sick.
Oh my God.
So it's just like, I don't know.
This is devastating. Is there some sort of ray of hope in any of this? Jeez.
No, but the stories are good.
Okay.
Yeah, it's all.
Jeez.
Like I said, I never really thought about it until I started doing this research, and it's just like, it's so insane.
It's funny because I feel like it's easy to romanticize like the idea of living in a lighthouse. Like, oh, it's a beautiful little lighthouse. Like even Stanley from The Office, he's like, my dream is to retire and live in a decommissioned lighthouse. That's his like thing. Because it's like, you think about like, oh, you're by the sea and it's pretty and all you have to do is light this light at night and then it'll be fine and then you just live your life. But it's like when you really get down to the nitty gritty of it, it's like that is so not the case, and it's like kind of horrifying.
Yeah, and if there's a storm, like, a lot of these bad accidents that happen are during storms.
Yeah.
You know, when you go up there to try to light the lighthouse, like the 4 guys that went missing, you know, they were doing their jobs, doing their thing, and literally one by one, they were picked off by bad weather.
Yeah.
And now what's left is a giant mystery that nobody really knows what happened to any of them. They're just kind of speculating.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh
so
gosh, I
it's
remember
just,
that
well,
one.
and
That
this,
one was weird.
yeah, and this lighthouse is different because it's not on an island.
Should we say the name of that other one so that if anyone wants to look into it, then they can?
Yes. Let me see if I can find it. I'm sure if I type in like missing lighthouse keepers.
Yeah.
it'd probably come up. Oh yeah, it's the Flannan Isles Lighthouse, if I remember correctly.
Flannan Isles.
Yes. I believe so. Yes. So the disappearance of its keepers in 1900. And if I remember correctly, it's basically these 4 lighthouse keepers. There was a chain of command there. Like there was the head keeper and then everybody else was kind of in
And they
rank
took
below them.
turns.
Yes. Yeah. Well, and like what happened was a lot of there was a few days I think where the lighthouse or the light wasn't lit. And honestly, that is literally the only way anybody would know that something's wrong is if the light doesn't go on.
Yeah.
So, and by then it's too late. So
Yeah.
it's crazy. But yeah, these 4 lighthouse keepers, one by one ended up kind of going missing. But these people, when they notice that the light isn't going on, they go out. I'm paraphrasing here, so don't quote me on this, but they go out and kind of check it out. They come into the lighthouse and there is a turned over chair, food on the table, the clock on the wall has stopped, and nobody's there.
And there was something weird about the logbook. Like their logbook.
Oh yeah,
there was some weird entries that didn't quite make sense, which is why someone well, maybe one of them kind of went a little insane and
might have picked off the others. Well, I don't really know because I did read about this very briefly because I did actually think about doing it, but it's been so overdone I ended up not doing it. But from what I can understand, the general consensus is that 1 or 2 of them went up to the lighthouse and a rogue wave took them. And then when they didn't come back, the other 1 or 2 or whatever went up to see where they went. And then it took another wave came and took them because they never found bodies. They never found anything that really hinted at what happened to these men.
Yeah.
But I mean, that was one of those situations where it's like you were literally stuck there and then all of a sudden your teammates are just gone. What do? This was in 1900, so it's not like you can call somebody on your cell phone and, tell them that shit's hit the fan. You're just stuck there until somebody comes to help you.
Yeah.
So it's crazy. Well, and there was another one where the lighthouse keeper's kids, his 2 daughters, I think, were drowned in this horrible accident.
Or what?
His 2 kids were drowned.
Oh God.
Yeah, in I don't know, in the water or something. It was actually quite heartbreaking, and I didn't do it because of that, because it was these kids and it's it's so hopeless. But I mean, accidents happen all the time in lighthouses and there's no way to find out about them until somebody comes and gets you.
Oh my God. Ugh.
Or your body.
God.
Yeah,
it's
crazy.
On. This is horrible to talk about.
I know. We'll pick up the well, I don't want to really say I don't really want to say it's going to get happy, but we're going to get into some personal stories, which is I think going to be pretty fun. But I actually I didn't even finish about Dr. Holzer's team. Sorry, Dr. Holzer, let me finish this. Let's see. So lighthouse visitors, including Dr. Holzer's team, experienced a chilly air in certain parts of this building, and it was accompanied with a rotten smell emanating from one particular room. A rotten smell.
Rotten smell.
Yes. Sorry, everybody. We're still having technical difficulties, in case you can't tell. But sorry.
We're working on it.
We really are. But yes, it was a rotten smell that came from one particular room. And this was really weird. And another thing that was noted in quite a few of the articles that I read, as soon as Dr. Holzer basically acknowledged this really weird smell, it went away.
Oh, God.
Yeah. So he speculated that it was the smell from tormented spirits of people that were imprisoned there.
Oh.
Yeah. And once he basically said that, this is the spirits of tormented people, the smell went away.
I wonder how common that is.
I don't know. I'm not sure. Well, and I mean, like, any skeptic could probably easily explain that away, and that's fine. Like, you're welcome
It's
to
a
do
dead
that, but
rabbit
we are here
underneath
for
the
stories.
floorboards.
Yeah, but I mean, like, seriously though, like, it's just a fun story. Like, whether or not you believe it, whether or not you can easily explain it away, just enjoy the ride. Okay,
Right.
We're just having some fun here.
Yeah.
So, in addition to the weird sounds and smells, people do see things. Most people see Ann Davis, the wife or daughter of the first lighthouse keeper, again, to be determined. Maybe one of these days Anne will tell us on a amazing EVP. But until then,
daughter, bitch.
Yeah, who are you? Are you his daughter or his wife? We need to know. But until then, yes, we are left to speculate if she's his daughter or his wife. I don't know. But people have seen her standing at the top of the stairs in a white blouse and a long skirt. And I imagine because keep in mind, this is closed. This building is closed to people.
Yeah.
So if you are in there, you probably have special permission to be in there by the state.
Or you snuck in.
Yeah, or you snuck in. Don't sneak into this lighthouse. It is an important landmark, damn it. Go through the proper channels, okay? No breaking and entering.
Yeah.
But, I mean, think about it. Like, you're there in this, supposedly abandoned building. You know who's with you. And then all of a sudden, you look up these creepy stairs, and there's somebody you don't know.
In weird clothes.
Yeah. And it's, I mean, that would totally freak me out. But
yeah.
Anyway, so there are also several unexplained images that have appeared in photographs. The most well-known is one that's called The Ghost of Point Lookout, and I'll kind of describe it to you, but if you just Google The Ghost of Point Lookout, I'm sure you'll find it. It was actually taken during a seance in the lighthouse in the 70s. And in the photograph, Laura Berg, a former lighthouse resident, stands in the center and she's holding a candle. On her left is a kind of foggy-ish form of a man that looks like he's in a soldier's uniform. He has supposedly a weapon, a sash, and one leg is crossed over the other, and appears to be kind of like casually leaning on the wall that's next to him. So the photo, okay, what? Yes, it's that one.
Oh.
Yeah. So, okay, we finally found the photo. I had to type, so if you type in The Ghost of Point Lookout, there's a lot of photos that come up. The one that I think they're talking about is a photo of a woman with dark hair. It's kind of blurry. She's got dark hair and she's wearing dark clothes, and you can kind of see her hands are in front of her a little bit. I have a hard time seeing if she's actually holding a candle, but there is someone off to the left that is very blurry, but it definitely does look like a person with like some sort of belt on, but it's pretty blurry. So I'm not sure, but apparently that's the most famous photo that they have captured. But it's definitely interesting for sure. I'm not 100% sure exactly what that could be, but I'm sure all the skeptics would
I see
tell
it
us.
now.
Yeah, he's kind of leaning, and you can't see his face. It's really just like half of his shoulder, but you can definitely tell he's leaning with one leg kind of crossed over.
Wow, now that I can see it like a little easier, I'm like, wow, that is definitely a person with their leg kind of crossed.
Yes. Yeah, and they're definitely in some kind of uniform.
Yeah.
I can't really tell if it's Confederate or Union. It's not that specific, but they definitely seem to be wearing some sort of uniform.
Yeah.
And you can see the belt, which is interesting.
Mm-hmm.
But apparently when the image was taken, when the photo was taken, the people that were at the seance didn't see anything there. It was really just after the photo was developed. But again, you're going on the word of the people that were there. So you can, take that for what it is. But again, we are here for a good story. So just enjoy the ride. Let's pretend like it was a ghost, okay?
It was.
It was a ghost, damn it. All right. So now we're going to go into the, I guess we could say firsthand accounts almost. But some of these are more secondhand, but it's by who I would consider a credible source.
Okay.
So his name is Ranger Donnie Hammett, and he was actually a longtime manager at the state park, Point Lookout State Park. I was
going to say it was Dorcas.
No, it's not Dorcas.
I can't even say his name without saying Dorcas.
No, but I will say, so all of these stories, the next like really decent chunk, all of these stories that I'm about to read you are from Dorcas's article. Don't make me laugh. This is serious.
Are you gonna say his name at any point?
No,
okay.
But I do want to shout him out because so again the I can't even talk straight. Look what's happening to me. The article is The Spirits of Point Lookout, and it's on the Department of Natural Resources Maryland website. And this, I will say...
The Department of Natural Resources actually hired someone with the name Dorcas.
Well, we can't bash Dorcas, okay?
I'm sorry.
We can't. Dorcas did a great job. We'll go with Mr. Coleman.
His work speaks for itself.
Yes. It's honestly the most concise article of so I had 3 sources. This was the one I used the most. So props to Dorcas Coleman. You did a great job. Stop it. We need to be respectful. He helped me out a lot. Again, I'm assuming Dorcas is a he. I shouldn't really assume that, but here I am.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, Dorcas.
Let's be honest. I'm going to go with they. They're probably somewhat used to it. I'm not going to say their name anymore. Thank you. I just
feel so bad. If he ever listens to this, I am mortified at my behavior. But I literally can't help it. He's got to know that name is just something special.
Yes. Yeah. I get it. It is special. We'll go with that. All right. So, these next few accounts are, again, from Ranger Donnie Hammett.
Okay.
And I'm not sure, I'm not sure if Ranger Hammett, let's go with that, Ranger Hammett, I'm not sure if he was interviewed specifically for this article or if this was kind of found through the grapevine. But either way, Dorcas did a great job of... Stop it!
I thought you said you weren't going to say
I know, but one more time. They did a great job of distilling this down into a really good, just one after the other firsthand account of this lighthouse. Okay, settle down now. Settle down.
Sorry. I can't help it.
All right.
There's no way that's a real name.
All right. Okay. Anyway, so I'm basically, I don't trust myself to summarize these stories, so I'm basically just going to read them to you.
Right.
So if it sounds scripted, it 100% is because I'm reading them to you. All right. So again, this is from Ranger Donnie Hammett. Thank you, Ranger Donnie Hammett, for giving us these lovely stories. All right. The incident, first, quote, "The incident I'm about to relate occurred on an unseasonably warm day in early March 1977. I had been a park ranger at Point Lookout for only 2 months, although mine was a new job. Point Lookout was not new to me. I had lived my lifetime of 25 years in the Point Lookout area." Also, I'm pretty sure I have undiagnosed dyslexia, so give me a break while I read all of this to you, okay?
Okay.
All right. Okay, I'm going to continue. Quote, I was working the evening shift. It was a weekday, and despite the beautiful warm weather, there were very few park visitors. At about 4:30 p.m., I was on the Potomac River beachfront gathering and recording weather data when I noticed an elderly woman standing about 40 yards from me. She caught my attention because she was strangely shuffling along, looking toward her feet. She appeared to be desperately looking for something she had lost in the grass. After I had watched her for about 5 minutes, I walked over to offer my assistance. I hate
Hello,
reading out
ma'am.
loud.
You look like you're having trouble.
I think, I mean, well, and she was elderly, so I honestly thought it was funny that he just like watched her struggle for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And then was like, okay, sure, I guess I'll go help this old lady.
I should help this lady.
Yeah. So I walked over to offer my assistance. My first thought was that perhaps she'd lost her keys. She seemed very distant, and our conversation was very brief. I only remember 3 points she made. She did not need my assistance. She lived up the beach, quote, a ways, and she asked if I knew where the gravestones were that used to be where we were standing. So apparently there was a graveyard there at some point. Yeah.
No wonder it's haunted. They just bulldozed that shit.
I mean, think about it. Like, it was basically a prison camp. The people that died there, of course they were going to be buried there, and they were Confederate soldiers, so they probably didn't get an honorable burial at all. God. So
there's so many things. I'm just like, were they just asking for this to happen?
I know. It's a haunting shit list, I would say.
Haunting shit list? Is that what you said?
Yes. That's going to go on a t-shirt.
A haunting shit list.
The haunting shit list.
Yep.
Okay, let's see here. So I remember that for some reason I felt I was imposing on the woman. And not wanting to be an imposition, I left to walk 300 yards east to the Chesapeake Bay shore to record more data. About 5 minutes later, while I was walking back to my truck, which I had left parked near the river, I noticed that the woman had disappeared. It was then that I realized the adjacent parking lot was empty. Furthermore, from my vantage point, since our conversation, I would have had to have seen any cars entering or leaving the area. None had. I did not conduct a search for the woman, though I often excuse me. That was the chider. Though I often wish I had done so. So he basically realized that while he's down at the river, he would have been able to see people come and go. And nobody had come and gone. A few hours later, I asked the then park manager, Gary Sword, and I want you to remember Gary Sword. This is me talking, not the ranger. You need to remember Gary Sword because we're going to talk about him again.
Okay.
I asked Gary Sword if he knew anything about a graveyard near the Potomac River picnic area. He wanted to know why I was asking, so I told him about my odd encounter with the old woman. After Mr. Sword heard my story, he told me that there had once been a graveyard somewhere near where the mysterious lady had been wandering. Okay. This is going to get weird for a second, but I'm going to just read this and then we'll talk about it, okay?
Okay, I'm ready.
So he says, Mr. Sword says, it was the Taylor family graveyard. Its exact location is no longer known, but its former existence is well documented. Records show that one of the individuals buried in the lost graveyard is Elizabeth Taylor. No, hold on a second. Evidently, someone had come across the missing burial site and stolen her headstone. Elizabeth Taylor's grave marker was found in a local hotel by a Point Lookout park ranger later, at some point.
Oh my God, is that it?
No.
Oh my God, there's
I mean, well, that's it for that chunk. So
oh my God.
I'm just going to say right now, this is not the Elizabeth Taylor that you think it is.
Oh, okay. I was like, no, this is not real.
I know. I had to read this like 3 or 4 times because I was just like, wait. That can't be a thing. Why would Elizabeth Taylor be buried in some mysterious graveyard in Point Lookout National Park, like state park? It just doesn't make any sense. So I think that it's the Taylor family graveyard, and they had someone in it named Elizabeth, and that's just like a coincidence.
Yeah.
But somebody at some point thought that was fascinating and stole her gravestone, and it was later found by rangers in a local hotel.
Oh my god, like
I know.
some idiot was like, "Ooh, this is the Elizabeth Taylor. I better take this fucking headstone and cause a haunting, because that's also on the haunting shit list." Stealing of gravestones. Jesus fuck.
I know. It was really weird. I even had to read it to Jeremy because I was like, what the actual fuck?
Yeah.
This doesn't make any sense.
The stupidity. I can't even.
I know. Well, and I knew you would raise hell about it, so that's why I was like, wait, hold on a second, because we're not done yet.
Oh, Lord.
I know. So, okay, we're going to go back to the story. Quote, some years later, my mother, Regina Hammett, and I went to the site where I had talked to this old woman. We searched for signs of a graveyard using metal rods to probe down through the sand. Within minutes, we located a rectangular rock-like form about a foot under the sand.
Oh my God.
Soon, we located several other possible gravestones laid out in rectangular rows as one would expect. However, when we dug up a couple of these objects, we discovered they were concrete foundations of an 1860s Civil War warehouse.
Oh.
The Taylor family cemetery has never been found.
The Taylor family cemetery has never been found.
Yes.
Of course.
Yes. And then he leaves us with this little nugget of shit list, I guess.
Haunting shit list.
Yes. Could the strange woman have been the deceased Elizabeth Taylor searching for the rest of her family? Dun, dun,
my
dun.
God, that just makes me want to cry for this poor woman.
I know. Well, and it just... The whole, like, was she a ghost thing? Probably not. Like, she probably got in her car and left and went a different way, and maybe he didn't see her, or I don't know.
But that's no fun.
No, that's not no fun. Or that's not fun. That's not no fun. Yeah, that's not fun. You're right. It's, again, we're here for stories, and it's more interesting if you think of her as maybe a ghost, which, who knows? Maybe she could have been. Like,
yeah.
It could have been, like he said, maybe she was looking for the rest of her family at some point and, never found them, unfortunately. But
yeah.
All right. So this next one is again by him. All right. So, quote, on several occasions, I have witnessed a man running across the road through Point Lookout. The sightings always took place during the day on the same section of road, and the man always crossed the road just after my truck had passed, causing me to view him in my rearview mirror.
Oh, that's creepy.
I know. The man was always crossing in the same direction. Other rangers have experienced the same phenomenon while passing in other vehicles at different times of the day and different times of the year.
Oh.
Yeah. The first time I saw the man, I immediately returned to the crossing site. The man was running using long strides. He first appeared at the edge of the road adjacent to one of the Point Lookout camping areas. He crossed the road and dashed into the woods on the other side, leaving park property. My first thought was that he was a trespasser fleeing the area, which,
sure.
I would get that. Yeah, that makes sense. I examined the area, but was unable to find any type of path on either side of the road or any evidence of human or animal crossing. I did not get a good enough look at the intruder to identify him or describe his attire. The site of the man's crossing is very near, but not in the original Confederate soldier cemetery, used to bury prisoners who had died of smallpox at the nearby smallpox hospital where sick Confederates were held. Had the man been making the same trek during the Civil War, he would have been running in a route taking him directly away from the smallpox hospital.
Oh my God.
I know. Reportedly, Confederate prisoners would trick their Union guards into sending them to the hospital, and then they would attempt to escape through the same woods from which I had seen the man flee. Could the figure have been the spirit of a Confederate soldier who escaped from the smallpox hospital, only to die in the woods nearby?
How sad.
Having himself been infected by the deadly disease, as so often happened? Who knows?
Okay, so here's what I took from that. People camp there?
Yes.
What?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yes. I mean, it's a state park. It makes sense that people would want to camp there, I suppose, but would I want to camp there? No.
Oh, ick.
I know.
It's funny because it's the same as like with the Jersey Devil thing, like, and the Jersey Devil is way more famous.
Yeah.
Like, people still fucking camp there. Like, that's just weird.
Mm-hmm.
That's just weird.
Yeah.
Okay, but, sorry, that aside, you weirdos who like to go camping in haunted parks. Get it, but whatever. So, did he say what he did? I mean, you just read it. He didn't say what the guy was wearing?
No. So, from what it sounds like, because he was seeing him in his rearview mirror. So I imagine it was probably pretty quick. He could describe the way he was walking or striding.
Yeah, large strides.
Yes, but he couldn't really describe what he was wearing or what he looked like.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, I don't even know how to unpack that, but that is... It's
I don't
sad.
really think we have to. I think it just kind of is what it is, but...
It's sad. That's what it is.
Yeah. I mean, either way, like, and the way he describes it, like, he's speculating, you know, it could have been a Confederate prisoner who escaped from the hospital only to have...
someone who's built a meth lab underground, and he just likes to run out.
On occasion.
Fast. And he knows no one's going to bust him because they're all just going to think he was a ghost.
Maybe. I don't know. I don't know. But either way, well, I thought it was weird that it's not just him, you know, and people see him literally all the time, any time of the day, you know, whatever.
Yeah, sorry, that was just me being funny. I don't actually believe that that's what's going on.
No, that's fair.
But that is weird that it's like not just this one guy has seen him. It's this, you know, multiple people see this guy running around.
Yeah.
It's weird.
All right, let's see. The next one. I have a few of these, so get ready. All right. Powerful. This one's called Powerful Currents. That's what the title of this little story is.
Oh.
Yes. So, quote, powerful outages.
Wait, is this that same guy?
Yes, but this story is going to be a little bit secondhand.
Okay.
So power outages are not at all unusual at Point Lookout. Being located on a peninsula, electricity can only be brought in from one direction. If those lines are interrupted, the point is left in darkness. Because of this, Point Lookout residents always keep candles and matches available.
Oh, scary.
I know. One dark and stormy night when the power was out at the point, Gary Sword, remember I mentioned Gary Sword?
Gary Sword, yes.
Yes, experienced something we have yet to explain. This one is weird. I got to admit, this one's really weird. All right. According to Mr. Sword, he lit 3 identical candles. All right, I need you to focus on this one because this one's kind of weird.
3 identical candles.
Yes, 3 identical candles in a candelabra in the living room. Okay. Mr. Sword left the candelabra for a short time to go to the kitchen to fix dinner. A few minutes later, he heard a loud sound come from the room where he had left the candelabra unattended.
Wait, and this is in the lighthouse?
Yes, this is inside of the lighthouse.
Okay, why was he there? Fixing dinner?
Yes, I'm assuming maybe he lived there at some point. Like maybe that was the quarters for, you know, this person, you know, the manager of the, I don't know, state park or something. I'm not really sure.
Okay,
but
sorry.
either way, I'm fairly confident that this is in the lighthouse, though it didn't say that specifically, but I'm pretty sure that is what it is because there's nowhere else really to live on this place. So
Yeah.
in this place. All right. So let's see. A few minutes later, he heard a loud sound come from the room where he had left the candelabra unattended. Being alone in the house, he immediately went to investigate the disturbance. The candelabra was as he had left it. Okay, focus. Ready?
Okay.
Only now there was a marked difference in the size of the candles. One had only burned about an inch. Okay.
Okay.
The second had burned nearly 4 inches. But the third candle was the hardest to explain. Only about an inch of this candle had remained. However, a section of the candle rested on the floor nearby. Apparently, somehow the candle had broken. The wick on the length of candle laying on the floor had been lit, but was now extinguished. Inexplicably, the small piece of candle in the candelabra was now aflame.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's recap.
Yes.
Just so that we can get this one right.
Yeah, because this one has a lot of moving parts.
Okay, so page recap time. So, you're cooking yourself some dinner.
Yes.
Fried chicken night.
Mm-hmm.
By yourself.
Sounds delicious.
Yes. Yeah, sure. You light some candles because it's a storm and the power's out, right?
Yes. Uh-huh.
Okay. 3 candles on the candelabra in the living room. Goes to the kitchen. He wouldn't be able to make fried chicken because the power's out, but whatever.
Yes. He made a salad.
There we go. Salad. Yum.
Yes.
Okay, so then he hears a weird noise, goes back in there. One candle is like still pretty full.
Yes. It said about an inch had burned.
One candle is half burned, so like half the candle's gone.
Yes, it said 4 inches, but yes, let's say half. Yeah.
Sure. The other one, there is 1 inch left that is lit, but it is literally like someone pulled the candle out of the candelabra, chopped it.
Yes.
And then lit the tiny piece, lit the big piece, blew it out, and then threw it on the ground.
Yes, I think you're overthinking it a little bit, though. So what
but just for visual sake.
Yes, that is
happened.
essentially what could have happened. Yes.
My land.
Yeah. So how I interpreted this was this third candle was lit. Okay. A piece of it somehow, through spiritual phenomena or something, had broken off.
Okay.
And in the process of falling to the ground, had extinguished itself.
Right.
What was left in the candelabra was like an inch left. That had somehow lit itself.
Okay.
That's how I imagined it.
Yeah, no, that makes it a lot more weird. I think
I don't know. I think a ghost picking up a candle and cutting it in half is also really weird.
I was just trying to mentally picture what the candle was looking like.
Yes.
Like how it happened. So it was like someone
mm-hmm.
somehow most of the candle is on the ground.
Yeah.
But both pieces, one was still lit, one was not.
Yes, and the one that wasn't lit had been lit before.
God.
Yeah, it's weird, right?
That is so weird.
I know, that one was a little bit of a mental puzzle, sorry.
Yeah, no, that's fun.
By far the weirdest ones. The weirdest one.
Weird. That's okay, so let me just...
Mm-hmm.
So our aunt's house, I'm not going to say her name because I don't know. Just in case. She lives in a very, very old house.
Yeah, it was built
next
in
to a
probably
very
like,
haunted park.
yes,
in
it was.
Colorado.
It was probably built in like the 20s, maybe early 1900s.
Early 1900s.
Yeah.
And so I have experienced a number of paranormal things in her house, though she doesn't like me to talk about it because she thinks it will upset people in the house. But I'm going to. Because this is like that same thing. So there was a candle on the back of the toilet one day. So it had a dish, like a little tray, and then like a fat candle that sat on top of the tray. And it sat on top of the back of the toilet. And it was like decorative and whatever. One day there, I hear this crash. So I go in there to see what it is. The candle was still on the toilet, but the tray was shattered on the floor.
I remember you telling me about this.
So, like, someone had to have picked up the candle.
Yeah.
Taken the tray out. Chucked the tray, the dish, it was ceramic, onto the floor. And then put the candle back down onto the toilet.
Yeah.
Like that. Like, that's just fucking weird.
Yeah.
At Thanksgiving, when I went outside to chase her cat, I set my water down on the, on the little landing by their, the front door walkway.
Yeah.
And then
I remember this.
When I went back, it was gone, and it ended up in the middle of their yard.
What?
It was in the middle of their yard.
Footprints or anything.
Well, there were actually a ton of footprints from people just walking around, but nothing that looked fresh.
Oh, that's bizarre.
It was weird.
Yeah. Gosh.
Maybe at some point in the future, we will all share our paranormal stories, because Paige and I have actually recorded a YouTube video of the house that we all grew up in. It's just me and Paige kind of talking about it a little bit. Some of the things, but at some point,
my YouTube channel. The YouTube channel is called The Mild Feminist.
Yes, if you're curious. It's actually it was a really fun video to record, and if you're curious about what we look like, that would be a good way to see what we look like and how we interact together. But it's really fascinating. But maybe at some point, the three of us, because Kyle has quite a number of quite frightening stories, firsthand stories that I'm sure our listeners would probably be thrilled to hear. So maybe at some point we'll do that. If you're interested in hearing that, you can email us at taleswithtwinspodcast@gmail.com. Tell us if you want us to do that. Because it actually is quite frightening. And honestly, like, the stories that we have are scarier than anything I'm going to tell you tonight. So
yeah, I mean, the stuff that happened to us was like fucking out of a movie.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, let's get back to this lighthouse. So
yeah.
All right, that was the candle story. That one was probably the weirder one. The next one, I'm going to paraphrase this one because it was pretty short, but apparently the dogs, Mr. Sword had a dog, I guess a German Shepherd that lived with him while he lived there. And apparently he would basically watch his dog watching something else all the time.
Oh, that's so creepy.
Yeah, like he would see his dog, and he'd be outside watching this road that's kind of, out there, and he would see his dog basically just like moving his head, almost like it was watching somebody walk across the road, kind of back and forth.
Oh my god. It was the guy.
I don't know. It could have been the drug dealer guy. I don't know. The invisible drug dealer guy. It was something that Mr. Sword didn't see. He was just like watching his dog watch it. So whatever his dog saw, he couldn't see. But yeah, I thought that was interesting.
Dang.
Jackson does that in the backyard. Like, he'll be inside and he'll be sitting on the couch looking in the backyard, just growling at something. I go out and look, and there's nothing there.
There's nothing there. That's gross. I don't like it. Jackson is Kyle's dog, by the way. All right. Let's see. So the next few stories are going to be from, former lighthouse resident. Her name is Laura Berg.
Okay.
Okay.
And she's the one in that photo, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I'm glad you picked up on that. I literally just now realized that. But yes, she is. All right. So this one is entitled Just Passing Through.
Okay.
So, quote, before moving into the lighthouse, Ms. Berg. Okay, so again, like this is kind of secondhand from the ranger. He's kind of telling the story for her. So it's going to be kind of told in that way. Before moving into the lighthouse, Ms. Berg learned of the strange things that happened to the former park manager, Gary Sword, during the time he lived there. So yes, okay, now we've confirmed he did live there.
Okay.
Mr. Sword frequently heard snoring in the kitchen. At times, he would hear voices outside of the back of the house, but when he went to go check, there was no one there. Then I know. Then he would hear voices in the front yard, and again, upon checking, there'd be no one there. This happened frequently. So I'm literally just picturing him like running from one end of the house to the other, checking if there are people there. Like this poor guy. I mean, like that would have driven me nuts.
He got his exercise in.
That's true. That's a good way to think about it. So one evening, he eventually saw figures of men going through the house. Ms. Berg also learned that numerous fishermen throughout the years had heard calls of for help on the water, only to discover that there was no one there.
Oh my God.
I know. Like, can you imagine? I mean, like, you're just kind of hoping that there's not actually someone out there and you haven't missed them, like, drowning or something.
And then if there's not, it's a ghost who's, like, reliving their death over and over again.
Yeah. Well, and I even ended, this is a little bit of a tangent, but I read because I honestly was thinking about doing a lighthouse creepypasta.
Oh, God.
And there was this one story, and I honestly would have done it, but it wasn't finished. It was like a part 1 of 2 situation, and there was no part 2. So I'm not sure what happened, but it was posted a few years ago, so there should have been a part 2, but for some reason there wasn't.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, the story was basically that this guy had his wife had died, and she would help him with the lighthouse, and he and this other guy would trade duties. So he would be there for a couple days, and then this other guy would come and relieve him, and then he would do it for a couple days, and they'd kind of like switch back and forth. And he apparently one night after switching with the other guy saw basically like his dead wife in the fog in the water.
Oh my God.
Yes. And
but this is a fake story.
This is a fake story. Yes. This is a creepypasta, but it was, I read it, like I read the last half of it alone because Jeremy had left to go grocery shopping or something. And before he left, he was like, don't get too freaked out. And I 100% was like, it's too late for that.
Oh my God.
Well, and they described it as like she had this really weird smile, like teeth crazed smile. And that was what freaked me out. And apparently he saw her on the water, he ran into the lighthouse and then went up to the tower and to see if she was like coming, and she basically was walking up to this lighthouse. So he goes back down the stairs because he realized he forgot to lock the front door. And of course he's like, oh my gosh, this is my dead wife, but at the same time this is definitely not my dead wife. And so he goes back down the stairs to lock the door, and he doesn't get there in time. And so he gets to the bottom of the stairs, and the door creaks open, and she basically like peeks her head in with her like horrible smile.
No,
and then goes back out.
I can't.
I know. She goes back out and leaves him alone. That's it.
Oh my God.
That was the end of it.
This right here is why I couldn't do.
I'm sorry.
The creepypasta episode. Oh my God.
I'm sorry.
Oh,
well, I'm glad I didn't do it.
God.
But well, yeah, it was crazy. There is a little bit more to it, but that was the scariest part. But apparently it turned into a little bit of like a murder mystery, I guess. but there was no part 2, so I honestly don't know. But it was, oh my god, so creepy.
Now I'm like, oh.
I'm sorry. I thought I could be quick about it and it wouldn't freak you out too much, but alas.
What you've done.
I'm sorry. Sorry. Anyway. All right, let me see. On to the next one. So
real things.
Yes.
Which aren't as scary because this is real life.
Yes, this is real life. So we're back to the real story. Sorry, that was a little bit of a tangent, but it was a really fucking good creepypasta.
Oh,
all right.
God.
So the first night Miss Berg spent in the lighthouse, she was awakened to the sound of heavy or old-fashioned boots walking up and down the hall. She also relayed that one of the rooms had a very bad odor at night. So if you remember, the doctor also noted a really weird, disgusting smell. Some mornings, she heard a female voice at the top of the stairs singing. She never could tell what song it was, but it seemed to be a happy one. Sometimes she heard the sound of men laughing and talking in the side living room, and whenever she would check for intruders, there was no one there.
Ugh, gross.
I know. She only actually saw something one time, and it was 2 figures in the basement. They were transparent, and Miss Berg couldn't tell if they were male or female. I would have loved more information on those 2 figures, but
did they
that's
walk
all we get.
around? Did they stand there?
I don't know. All we know is that they were transparent. That's all I know.
God, people, if you have good stories to tell, give some fucking details.
Agreed. All right, let's see here. So, this one was actually kind of creepy. Miss Berg enjoyed family and friends visiting her in the lighthouse. Several of them had strange experiences. One time, when her parents were visiting from Baltimore, her mother was awakened in the middle of the night by someone calling her name.
Oh.
I know, which has happened to me at our old house before.
Yeah.
It would call our names pretty regularly. So I know how creepy that is. Let's see. Another friend who was visiting her went into the living room alone and saw a woman in a blue dress. Thinking it was another guest, she went to ask Miss Berg who it was. Both of them returned to the living room, but no one was there.
Oh my god.
I know. Well, and if you remember the description of Ann Davis, I think is her name.
Mm-hmm.
She wore a white blouse and a blue skirt.
Yeah.
So I think that could easily have been her.
Yeah.
All right, this is my last one.
In her home.
I know, in her house, because that was her house, damn it.
Yeah.
All right, this is the last one. Miss Berg's most vivid memory was being awakened one night and seeing an unusual series of 6 lights. She thought it might have been a reflection from a boat or a car, but when she looked out, all was dark. As she became more awake, she suddenly smelled smoke. She jumped up and raced downstairs and found her space heater on fire. She was able to put the fire out, but the entire wire was burnt, and the
entire what?
Wire was burnt.
Okay.
As was the wall socket. She realized that if she hadn't been awoken by the lights, the whole house would have burned down with her in it. She felt like someone was looking out for her and that she was safe.
It was Anne.
I know, I'd like to think so. Though through the time that Laura spent in the lighthouse, she had many strange experiences, but she never felt threatened. Which I thought was really sweet.
Yeah.
I'd like to think that was Anne.
Yeah.
Let's see here. So I think I already talked a little bit about Anne. Oh yes. Let's see. I made note of this because I was going to share the story about Anne at the end, but I ended up doing it a little bit earlier. But she again was a relative of the lighthouse keeper who died there. And she actually was, when she died there, she was found laying in the lantern room, having died while performing her tasks. Again, like hinting at the isolation of it all, you know?
The like desperation to do your job.
Yeah. Yeah, that's literally what it was. Yeah.
Oh, how sad. Do they know how she died?
No, I don't, but I hope that it was peaceful, I suppose. I guess that's all you can really ask for. But
Yeah,
she
it was something
is
like a heart attack or something.
yeah, probably.
Which doesn't sound peaceful, but it would maybe explain why she was still doing her duties.
Yes. Yeah.
Like, happened
Well,
in
and
the middle.
she died, I want to say like almost 15 years ish after either her dad or her husband, which makes me think that it might be more likely to be her husband than her dad. But I don't really know for sure. And it would explain if she died of like a heart attack. You know, she was probably closer to age with, you know, however old James Davis was.
Right.
Unless she was scared to death.
I had thought of that too. Like maybe she saw something that scared her, you know, and she died from that. But I honestly don't know.
God.
But she's
so icky.
She's one of the main ghosts of this lighthouse. They've captured a lot of EVPs of her. The main one is the "This Is My House" EVP. But it seems to be that she prefers to haunt Point Lookout rather than actually moving on. But yeah.
Oh,
I know, and that is the story of Point Lookout Lighthouse. I hope that wasn't boring. I hope it was fun.
No, it was good. It was good. The
Good.
ghost ones are like fun, but they're also so sad.
Yeah,
it means that someone's like a lot of people have died there. You know?
Yes. Well, in this one in particular, it's like there are literally thousands of people that have died in this area.
Yeah.
You know, normally when it's a haunted house, it's, you know, one or two, maybe a handful of people that have died in it, unless we're talking about H.H. Holmes's house. But, you know what I mean.
I shouldn't laugh. That was an awkward laugh.
Yeah. We're laughing because we're uncomfortable.
Oh, God. Yeah.
It's terrible. That's a terrible story. But this one is like thousands of soldiers, you know, that probably have died a somewhat traumatic death, especially if they like froze to death in a prison camp or even were shot to death in war. And, you know, so it's just kind of the whole area, I'm sure, has really bad juju. But yeah, it was interesting. And it was a really fun topic. And there are so many haunted lighthouses. Like I said, like if we do this again, I think that it would probably be a really fun compilation of just like, hey, here are the heavy hitters of, like, there was one that I read that before there was a lighthouse, a ship ran aground and they had to resort to cannibalism to survive. And
oh my God.
Yeah, that one didn't have enough.
We can't do another cannibal thing.
No, that one was pretty big.
The last one was traumatizing.
I know. Yeah, if you haven't listened to our Omaima Nelson episode, you should. It's quite traumatic. If you want to see Paige, or if you want to hear Paige literally fed up with how gross the story was, that was the one.
Shit. It was just so funny because I'm like, oh, I do true crime all the time. But for some reason, that one just really got me.
Yeah, well, and cannibalism is like a whole nother can of worms in terms of true crime. So I don't really blame you, but yeah,
it was. We record at night, you know, and I avoid my true crime and ghosty stuff. You know, once it gets dark, I'm like, nope, it's anime time.
Yeah, I get it.
Anime love story moments at night. During the day, it is Murder City.
Yes.
On the TV. Not in my actual home. On the TV.
Yes. Oh my gosh, that's so funny. Well, and that actually, it does lead me into the theme for next week. So I don't know if you've watched it. Do you have HBO?
No, we used to, like, just for, like, Game of Thrones, but no, not anymore.
So HBO is kind of...
Oh, yeah, Kyle gave us his code.
Oh, okay. Well, you might want to, like, jump on and watch some things, because it's... what I have figured out is HBO is somewhat of, like, cult central. They have the Nexium cult documentary, which was pretty good. Actually, it was really fascinating. It's kind of a slow burn, but I thought it was really interesting. And then they also recently just put up a Heaven's Gate documentary that I think is 4 episodes.
Okay.
But it inspired me to give you this theme.
Cult.
A cult.
You know what? It's hilarious because I was just watching an Unsolved Mysteries about a cult, and I was like, I need to do this one.
Okay. All right.
So I know which one I'm doing.
We were having some twin telepathy there.
Because I just watched this like 2 days ago, and I was like telling Morgan all about it, and I was like, this is fucking nuts. So here's the thing. I do know what I'm going to do, and I will tell you that it's cult adjacent.
Okay.
Okay? So there's like a cult tie-in, but there's more to the story than that.
Okay. I think we can all get on board with that.
Okay. All right. I know what I'm doing, and I'm pumped about it because I just watched the episode, and I was like, this is fascinating.
Yeah. Well, and there's so many. And I mean, like, for me, like, you know, satanic cults are 100% not my style.
Yeah, I'm not on board with that. I can't do cults where they like sacrifice people or animals.
Yeah, so if you're expecting that to happen next week, that's not going to happen. Sorry. Yeah. We're talking about, you know, more religious cults as opposed to satanic cults, and I guess you could consider satanic cults a religious cult, but you know what I mean.
Right. Yeah, no, this one's not a satanic cult. This is just well, you'll see.
Okay. I'm very excited. I
am too. I'm so glad because I was like, I want to do this one so fucking bad.
Okay. Well, we were like, yeah, we were speaking to each other.
This is the second time in the podcast where we have like literally like done the twin thing.
A little bit. Yeah. And here we are telling people that it doesn't exist.
It's not a thing.
Maybe
it is.
Surprise. We didn't even know it was a thing. So yeah, that sounds like fun. I'm super into cults. I mean, it comes with true crime. Like, you can't be a true crime junkie and not, you know, dabble in the occasional cult. Yeah. So I have to ask you, if you were in a cult, which cult would it be?
Oh, I stay away from cults. I don't like this one was kind of a random one because it was on Unsolved Mysteries on like this segment.
Yeah.
So I watched it. But I typically don't
get into cults. Okay.
Yeah, after like knowing enough about, what is it, Jonestown?
Yeah, Jonestown. There's a documentary on Hulu about Jonestown too.
I can't.
It's horrific.
I can't do it.
Well, and Jonestown is like the creme de la creme of awfulness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Well, and there's some other ones where they don't allow doctors in. So people are literally performing surgery in someone's fucking backyard.
Yep.
On children, and I can't do those kinds of cults.
Yes.
You know, ones where they're like, this person's just really fucking out there. Sure. So I don't have an answer for you. What would you use? It's touch and go.
I've actually thought about it a few times, believe it or not. And the first time I was listening to My Favorite Murder, and I think it was Georgia actually covered Heaven's Gate. And I have listened, so there is a whole Heaven's Gate podcast besides the My Favorite Murder episode that Georgia did. There's a whole separate podcast, and HBO just put out that documentary that I just mentioned. So I know a lot about Heaven's Gate, and I can confidently say that if I was going to join a cult, it would be Heaven's Gate.
I think you've told me this before.
Yes. Well, I mean, like, so Heaven's Gate was unusual because they're not necessarily a sex cult. Like, a lot of these cults are like, cool, you can be in this cult, but you have to have sex with me. You have to have sex with everybody. You know, you have to have sex all the fucking time with, you don't even get a choice. You just have to do it.
Yeah.
But Heaven's Gate was the one cult, the one famous cult where they were really strict on abstinence, like none of it, to the point where some of the men even like castrated themselves. So if you're talking about like surgeries in back rooms, that was one of them, and let me tell you, it didn't go well, but we won't get into it. But I mean, so like you take out the, you know, mass suicide part of it, the Heaven's Gate cult was, I'd like to say, I say this very loosely, relatively harmless.
Other than the fact that they all
Yeah.
committed mass suicide.
Yes. Like I said,
Cool.
take out the mass suicide. They were really just wanderers that were super into aliens. You know?
Oh, how funny.
So, but
Can
I mean,
say
they
Zorp
were
is mine.
Zorp? I don't even know what that is.
It's another Parks and Rec reference.
Oh, I should know. I love Parks and Rec.
So remember, like, they all go, like, every year in the middle of the summer, this guy comes to Leslie and he's like, Zorp is coming.
Oh,
he's
yeah.
gonna liquefy us all.
Yes, I'm sure they probably pulled that right from some Heaven's Gate shit, because it was crazy. Well, and even the guy, the lead guy, because there were two, T and Doe, if you're interested, it's T and Doe, and T ended up dying of cancer. But we're not turning this into a Heaven's Gate episode. But Doe was the one that was remaining, and he was batshit crazy, but he actually seemed like he sort of kind of cared about the people that were with him, which is also unusual for a cult leader. Don't get me fucking wrong, he was crazy and led all of these people to mass suicide, but
he believed he was doing it for their benefit.
Yes, like he honestly
wholly.
did. Yes.
Yeah.
And then there's people from then there's like Jim Jones, who was literally just this awful, terrible, horrible, disgusting human. You know, so it's like no cult leader is great, and let's be honest, none of us want to be in a cult, but if I had to pick one, it would be Heaven's Gate. Without the mass suicide. Let's just take that out.
We're having this conversation at this point.
Kyle, which one would you be in?
Oh, the Church of the Flying Spaghetti Monster.
Oh my
You so would.
Wait, is that a real one?
Yes.
No. I want to come.
It's a little bit of like a mock cult, but
yeah, I am actually a member of. I'm a Pastafarian. That's what we're called.
Out of all of our siblings that were going to join a cult, I wouldn't have expected you to actually join a cult. Oh my god.
It's not really a cult. It's just like it's a satirical religion that of people that try to support free thinking and just freedom in general.
Oh my god, that's so funny.
The
mock cult. Yeah, it's a mock cult. We'll go with that.
Flying spaghetti man.
Monster. Oh,
yeah,
gosh,
the flying
sorry,
spaghetti monster is our deity.
That is priceless. Okay, well, we've learned
if you look it up, it's pretty funny. It's very cartoony.
Oh my god, that's so funny. You've probably seen bumper stickers that have the flying spaghetti monster on it. You probably just don't know it.
Yeah.
They're kind of everywhere. Respect. I respect that. That is commitment, Kyle.
That's hilarious.
Oh my gosh. Okay, sorry, that was a tangent. Well, anyway, join us next week so Paige can tell us a story about a cult, a mystery cult of her choice. It sounds very exciting, and I'm excited to hear it.
I'm excited too. I can't wait to do all the research because I have a feeling it's going to take a lot. I think this one's a doozy.
Yes. Well, and what I've noticed, I mean, we haven't done very many true crime ones, but the ones that I have done or looked into, you either kind of hit the jackpot with like a couple, or you have to kind of piece a lot of things together with a handful of them, handful of sources. So we'll see.
Yeah.
But it's very exciting. Okay, well, let's see. Do we want to talk about social media?
Yes.
Let's see. All right, let's see. Do you want me to talk about social media, or do you want to do it?
No, I don't. I'm really tired. I don't sleep anymore.
Okay, that's fine. I'll do it. All right. So we have an email. First of all, let's start with that. So if you have any stories that you would like us to share, or, your own stories, personal stories,
or
like
theme
hometown
ideas.
Yes, stuff like that. We are ready to hear it, and that sounds like a total blast. So you can email us at taleswithtwinspodcast@gmail.com. So go ahead and, get to emailing us about that. And maybe if we get enough submissions, we might even do like a listeners episode where we can read your stories and things like that. But we'll see. We haven't gotten that far yet. In fact, at the time of this recording, we haven't even launched any of our episodes yet because we're waiting for our theme music, but it's coming. So hopefully, thank you for waiting. If you're listening this far in episode 9 and we haven't even launched anything yet. But anyway, so hopefully that would be coming at some point, and that sounds fun to us. So write us and we can try to see what we can do with all of these write-ins. But yeah. All right, let's see. So then social media, let's see. It's at Tales with Twins, and that is Instagram and Twitter. Right now we have approximately 2 people following us on Twitter. So,
oh my God, that's more than I thought.
I know. Well, it's Maggie and their partner. So I know Maggie, gems. My bat friend, is so supportive. Thanks, Maggie.
They're like, they talk about bats. I'm all about it.
I know. So yes, thanks for the moral support, Maggie. So honestly, like, I'm not very good at Twitter, so I think that's probably part of it. Like, I'm not used to playing the game of follow back girl, you know.
And I don't even know anything about Twitter, honestly.
I've used Twitter very casually a long time ago, and I still have a Twitter account for, like, me personally, but I don't ever use it. I'm pretty sure the last time I posted something was like 2012. So it's not really my wheelhouse, but I decided we needed to try it. So anyway, go ahead and follow us and we'll try to figure out Twitter as we go. Instagram is also up. Same thing. It's at Tales with Twins. So follow us. Right now, I think we have almost 40 followers, which is pretty exciting.
Oh, yeah. That's pretty good.
I think that's fun. We also have a Facebook group. We don't really have a Facebook page, but we have a Facebook group. It's Tales with Twins podcast, right?
Yep.
Okay, so you can find us there. You will be mildly screened before you are accepted, so play it cool, okay? All right. Well, anyway, write us, do what you do, and we'll see where this goes. Oh, and rate, review, and subscribe to us.
Yes, please. 5 stars.
Yes, and constructive criticism only, please.
Through email, not on your podcast app. Through email. Don't fuck up our numbers, okay?
Yes. Yeah, from what I hear, your ratings and reviews are important on your podcast app, so please do it. We've mentioned this before. We are new. This is, I think, our 9th episode, and like I said, we haven't even launched yet, so we need you to help us. We would love for this to be more than a hobby at some point. Right now, it's just a hobby, but we would love for it to be more than that. So help us, please. That would be lovely. Oh, there goes my dog. Sorry.
Got to beat those algorithms.
Yes.
Heck yeah.
Thank you. Sorry, my dog is in the background barking. There's nothing I can do about it. But yes, help us with those weird algorithms. That would be lovely. And we appreciate you, our dear listeners, even though we probably only have like 10, but we appreciate you anyway.
Yeah, that's more than last week, because I think last week I was like, our 5 listeners.
I know. Let's be honest. It's still probably
we've gained 5 new listeners in a week.
Yeah, hopefully. We'll see. We'll see if that actually happens by the time we put this out. But
yeah.
Anyway. All right. Well, let's see. Is there anything else we'd like to talk about?
I don't think so.
Okay. Well, thank you for listening to Tales with Twins. We are happy to bring you weird shit.
Yes. Yeah.
All right. We'll see you all next week. Bye.
Yep. Bye.
And thank you again for joining Tales with Twins.
Oh, and real quick, before you go, I just wanted to jump on and with this little pre-recorded message, I guess, to let you know that we now have a Patreon and a PayPal, if you haven't heard already. We really enjoy making this podcast, but it does come with a number of expenses. So if you'd like to throw a little monetary support our way, we would love you forever, ever, ever. We will also be putting out bonus episodes for any donors over the $5 level on Patreon as our gift to you. The links for both PayPal and Patreon are on our Instagram and Twitter pages, and we will also be posting a link on our Facebook group as well.
And just in case you don't know, our Instagram and Twitter handles are at Tales with Twins, and our Facebook group is Tales with Twins Podcast. So thanks again for your support. We can't do this without you, and thanks for listening to my little spiel. And we'll see you all next week. Thanks. Bye.